Angry Aku, as you can tell from the title, is about an angry child called Aku. Aku also is my niece's name, so it was a little sort of tribute to her. But she's not angry. She's a very sweet kid. But this Aku is quite angry, and it's a book that's it's about two people. It's about this child and her father, and it's about the child who's sort of dealing with this inner crazy anger, which she's just unable to express, and the father who can't understand why and helps her to express it. So it's just a very linear story, which is about just an ordinary afternoon in the life of this father and daughter, and at the end of a school day, and how they deal with this one little issue and get past it. So that's it. So the Pratham Books, the editors at Pratham Books had approached me asking if I would do a book that relates to emotion in some way. And I had done a set of STEM books for them earlier. I had commissioned, and I've also written and illustrated one or two books where I've commissioned a set of books for them, which kind of deal with science, technology, math, that sort of thing. So the idea was to take a similar sort of a very practical, functional approach and look at something that is not so easy to break down, which is in this case it's emotion. So the emotion that I picked, I mean, I didn't want to sort of go all over the place. I picked anger as a specific thing, which is something that parents and children and everyone sort of has to deal with all the time, and not everybody has a good or clear or a direct way of dealing with it. Often parents will just yell at the kids if they're angry. Kids will go off in a huff, and then maybe they'll attack some other kids. You don't know what is going to happen. It's the most chaotic emotion in that sense. You don't know how, where it starts and how it's going to end up. So it was an interesting challenge to kind of take that and see if it can be broken down into a simpler sort of a process. So there was research, that kind of very basic level research that went into it, which was I read a lot of articles about written by child psychologists, and also I visited a bunch of parent forums as well, just to kind of understand what are the sort of documented ways in which this issue sort of crops up in children, and how people deal with it. And there is a very very clear sort of methodology to it, very very clear set of techniques to apply to it. So I just took these the concepts that are already there, which psychologists are well aware of, and actually which will seem quite obvious to most parents and teachers when you actually look at it. But in real life, when you're dealing with this, it doesn't seem that obvious, but they are pretty obvious. So I just took that and kind of turned it into a narrative. So the narrative essentially is it kind of follows a similar approach to what one might have to follow in real life, which is, if you find, in this there is a child who's angry, and in the beginning no one knows why the kid is angry, least of all the father who's come to pick her up from school, and the father sort of, as he is taking her home, and once they get home and so on, he kind of uses a very slow investigative approach, very empathetic investigative approach to try and figure out what is causing it. And it's a process of elimination. So he eliminates hunger, he eliminates thirst, he eliminates, these are common causes of, at a very basic level of anger, so he eliminates those, and then eventually gets to a slightly deeper cause of anger, which he deals with in a cathartic way, which is what, I mean, art as a medium of catharsis is a well-known thing. Adults use it all the time, great painters do it, but in the case of children, I mean, we know that this is how it should be, and in school teachers do it, but at home parents probably don't often push the child enough to kind of use art as a way to kind of expunge certain emotions. So this is so I just, that's the way it's been constructed. It's fairly linear. Then I mean, the devil is really in the details, so beyond that. It was easy. I mean, I honestly I prefer doing that, because there's so much that's often lost in translation either way, you know. I mean, I may write something and give it to somebody else, and I may have an intention for it which may not come through, then I'll be disappointed. Or the other way around. Either way, I may end up being disappointed. I guess this signals some lack of trust on my part, but I just prefer writing and illustrating. I mean, at this point, it's also interesting for me to do this because it kind of, you know, the last few years I've been increasingly trying to do projects where I can write and illustrate simultaneously. I mean, do both at the same time, and it's a way for me to also, you know, at a very deep level understand and break down the mechanics of storytelling via picture book kind of a framework. Earlier, I've illustrated a lot of picture books in the past, which are other people's texts, and they come with their own challenges. They're great fun as well. But it is interesting to do your own text. I mean, one of the things that I always talk about I mean, even when I do workshops and things like that, about illustration, one of the things I always talk about is how, you know, when you're writing a script for a children's book, how it's important not to put too many details into the text, and to kind of leave a little room for the illustration to, you know, interpret these things. Similarly, you know, at the same time, I've also, you know, talked to illustrators about, you know, taking a text and not, you know, very literally sort of, you know, doing exactly the same thing that it says, but to kind of go a little beyond that. So this was, I mean, for me to write and illustrate my own books, this is my, I think maybe the third book I wrote and illustrated. Now there's a fourth one coming out. But the interesting thing there is, you know, when you're writing and illustrating the same book, there is a sort of clarity of purpose that kind of that can come through. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it comes through, but for me at least, it just feels a little more satisfying to have done that, and it helps me understand the process a little better, at least for myself, and also to test these theories that I've been talking to other people about, whether it's actually working or not. Yeah, so that's also, it's fun. So to do, you know, that's at the basic level. So to use it is actually pretty simple and straightforward. You know, you just have to, you know, take it through from beginning to end, just follow the narrative, and kind of helps you break down what could be the causes of the anger in a child and how the child can deal with it. So as I was saying earlier, you know, the reading that I had done about, you know, what could cause anger and how it can be dealt with, these kind of give you a very basic set of techniques that you can use. It is a very linear approach, and what all these child psychologists say is to kind of use a sort of a very deliberate deconstructive approach to kind of understanding what it is, and then try and solve each one of these, break it down into smaller problems, and then try and solve each problem, and then you kind of, you know, inadvertently deal with a larger problem in one go. So this kind of follows that, where, you know, right in the beginning the child is angry, and this is exactly what, you know, what parents face. You see an angry child, you don't know what could be the problem, you don't know why. So in this, the father basically sort of just you know, begins by just questioning, you know, what could be the thing, and here obviously the child does not respond. So then you try and hit each of the, you know, obvious issues, which could be, you know, here child could be thirsty, so feed her buttermilk, you know, cool her down a little bit. Could be hungry, so give her vadas. I mean, that's in the story. Then, you know, he kind of, once she's sort of, maybe she's not calmed down, but she's a little less angry, and you can kind of tell, because, you know, visually at least I've shown, you know, the red sort of burst around her head kind of starts to cool down a little bit visually as well. But like now she's still angry, but, you know, she's just sort of maybe grumpy and not so angry. So when it gets to that stage, then you kind of go back to the questioning approach and try and break it down. So I think for, you know, teachers and so on, the fun thing is, at this point, you know, you can kind of also ask children, why do you think, you know, Akku is angry? You know, what could be the thing? And what she does here is, you know, this is where, as you were kind of mentioning, which is true, you know, there is a sort of illustration within an illustration thing that happens at this point where her father Appa gives Aku some crayons and a piece of paper and says, can you try and draw out what could be the thing. So using art as a medium of catharsis, and so she starts drawing out the story of why she got angry. So just small things that kind of lead into one another, and they just sort of spiral out of control, which eventually leads to her getting angry. And then, but the beauty of it is that as one tells the story and as one draws it out, because it is a sort of a slow, involved process where you're in a sense breaking down your own thought processes and understanding at what point did I get angry, because that's what she's doing here, because it helps her kind of break it down and understand that, okay, it's not this huge complex thing that the way you've thought about it in your head. It's just like a little thing that just kind of got into a bigger and bigger and bigger thing. So once you understand that, and once the child understands that even small things can, it's a classic mountain molehill situation. Finally she's just sort of happily sitting and drawing. So this is one. The other way is maybe asking kids. In this case, she's used drawing to kind of get rid of her anger, but maybe ask kids for suggestions on what they think could be other ways in which anger can be dealt with once the basics are kind of crossed off. And then since we're in the BuzzFeed era, I very helpfully put in a listicle at the end of it, which kind of gives you a 10-point set of steps on how you can deal with anger, which is there's a bunch of random things. But again, this also is pretty linear, and it kind of uses tried and tested techniques. It's just that it's written in a slightly silly, fun way for kids to kind of be able to read and engage with. So yeah, that's basically it. So.